Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's join the party, we'll all dance the horror. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. A silly bone to play with and latkes to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Oh Hanukkah, a time to remember. Jolly, jolly holiday that comes in December. Every day for 8 days, dreidels will spin. Crispy little latkes, tasty and thin. And nightly, so brightly, the candles of Hanukkah glow. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's join the party, we'll all dance the horror. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. A silly bone to play with and latkes to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your WWE Raw review for Monday, November 29th. Tonight on the show, Vince McMahon expects unexpected surprises and then slaps the taste out of Austin Theory's mouth. Edge and Maurice return to Raw, and Miz was there too. And Kevin Owens getting a WWE title shot at WWE Day 1. So next pay-per-view, we got some matches, we got some action, we got some Raw. Let's get going. Indeed.
All right.
Hello.
We're on. Welcome, everyone,
What's happening?
to the Monday Night Raw post show.
Yeah. I can't see your face now here. There you go.
Look away. I'm hideous.
There you go. Talk to me.
How we doing?
We're doing good.
How we feeling?
How's everybody doing right now? Welcome to the show. Shout out to everybody checking us out live. We are here. We got a show going. We watched Raw. Raw was not...
It's okay.
It was not bad. It was not a bad episode of Raw. I did not hate Monday Night Raw tonight. I thought it was all right. We had some good moments. We had some bad moments. I thought the main event was solid, and that usually helps a 3-hour wrestling show when the main event is good. And the main event was good. Kevin Owens and Biggie have a solid match. A lot of talk about this match leading into it, which we'll get to. But Owens winds up beating Biggie in the main event by disqualification, which now gets him into the WWE title match at WWE Day 1, which will take place January the 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. Very busy wrestling month for Atlanta.
Yeah.
They get Dynamite on Wednesday night, and then Day 1 on the 1st of January. So December 1st, they get AEW. January 1st, they get a WWE pay-per-view. I mean, Atlanta. Good wrestling town.
Are they going to do it in like the Georgia Dome or like the big football stadium? Either of these shows? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think either of those big buildings. But
Sting is on the card for the Atlanta AEW show.
That's right. Sting will be wrestling this
The man called Sting.
Wednesday. But we'll talk about Dynamite on Wednesday when we do the post-Dynamite show. We're here to talk about Raw. Seth Rollins opening up the show tonight, cutting the in-ring promo, announcing his WWE title match will take place against Biggie at Day 1, which we were wondering. Seth won that ladder match for the title shot like over a month ago.
It feels like, yeah.
It's been a long time, and I was wondering, when's this title shot going to actually happen? And they're pushing it all the way to Day 1, which is quite a while. I mean, I feel like he got this title shot in early November, if not late October,
it feels like
mid-October.
When they had that fatal 4-way ladder match. Wasn't like Rey Mysterio in that match?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
The Survivor Series really railroaded things, you know. Kept put everything on the back burner, you know, having Roman Reigns, you know, take Big E's attention for so many weeks.
It did slow things down.
Because Rollins kept cutting promos about Big E, so it felt like that was the main picture, but then Big E would focus on Roman Reigns. So it's a long build. It's an uninteresting build, but they spent a lot of time on it. And, you know, for some reason, especially now it's a triple threat match, I feel like they might put the belt on Seth Rollins.
Oh.
He has the most attention of any three guys. He often starts the show cutting a promo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sasha.
He has the best look. Like, he looks like the flashiest always with his jackets, and like, you know, he gets a lot of the backstage promos, and he was the catalyst in the finish tonight. It was because he got mad and interfered. I don't know. It just feels like he's the focal point.
But Big E is so new. You can't take the belt off. If you take the belt off Big E at Day 1 in a short run, and Seth Rollins just, boom, takes it off of him, what does that say about Big E's run? What does that say about the push for Big E? He wins the title off Money in the Bank, defends it against Bobby, defends it against Drew, loses to Roman at Survivor Series clean, and then drops it to Seth on January 1st. Like, that would suck. That is not a great title run, and I really hope they give him more than that.
But you kind of like mapping all that out and like him having a couple of victories.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like they'll be like, well, that's it, pal, and you know, maybe WrestleMania feud for the New Day or something. You know, I don't know why I'm doing a Vince voice.
No, I understand.
You
It's
know?
because that's kind of what they do, you know, back to where Big E was. It's like, okay, we'll give him a push. Let's see where it goes. And if it doesn't catch fire completely, we're just going to pull the plug and put him back down the ladder and back to the mid card, which is possible.
And then you have, I don't know, Seth and Damian Priest at WrestleMania.
Ugh.
Could happen.
I mean, it could happen. Seth did his promo, which was not great to start the show. Finn Balor came out and started brawling with Seth, which happened last week. Like, they were supposed to have a match, and then Finn and Seth just brawl, and the match can never happen because they can't gain control of the guys. But tonight they managed to gain control of them, so they had the match. I'm not really sure why they couldn't have had the match last week when the exact same scenario played out. But this week they had more control over the situation and decided to actually have a wrestling match. It was all right. Seth beats Finn Balor with the curb stomp, but he did hit Finn with a thumb to the eye while the ref wasn't looking, followed by a forearm shot to the back of the head. kind of a hidden blade like Will Ospreay does that Seth has now stolen. Ospreay's is way better, like way better. But Seth has stolen that hidden blade and kind of used it as a setup to the curb stomp, and he beat Finn with it. Cheats to win. Solid match, solid opening match, but the promo and then the brawl was just like, can't we just do the promo and get to the match? Why do we have to have the brawl beforehand? The brawl wasn't particularly entertaining. It doesn't suck you in, you know? It doesn't say, oh, what's going to happen here? It's like, oh, they're going to brawl. They'll gain control at some point and have the match, probably go to commercial at some point, and when we come back, the match will start, you know? And that's exactly what happened. It's so typical WWE. It's like promo, brawl, oh, these guys are supposed to wrestle, okay, cool, brawl till commercial break, come back, match.
And they go from a brawl, you know, where they're like unhinged, to like, all right, now I'm going to keep you in a rest hold.
Yeah. WWE wrestlers go from unhinged to hinged way too quickly. You know, like Seth and Finn are like trying to kill each other outside the ring, and then at a certain point they're like, oh, okay, we'll settle down and just have a good old-fashioned wrestling match now. Drew McIntyre on SmackDown in that Battle Royal. He comes out. Everybody's in the ring getting ready for a Battle Royal. Drew's mad because he's not in the Battle Royal, so he brings a sword to the ring and starts swinging it around, ready to murder anybody, heels or baby faces. They all scatter, and then we go to commercial break. When we come back, the Battle Royal started, and Drew McIntyre apparently has been talked down from his murderous rampage and sent backstage, and he's cool now. It's just the WWE wrestlers go from 0 to 100 back to 0 so quickly, just like their pushes, you know? It's their attitude and their push. It goes from you're nobody to you're beating everybody to you're nobody again, and it goes from you're super mad to you're fine to do whatever, and then you're really mad again for some reason. It's bad. It doesn't make sense. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
And you're like, you know, you're happy to help the guy maybe who helped you beat you up a few months ago. You know, now he's a baby face. So it's like, okay, we're friends now.
Yeah.
You know, there's no consistency at all in storylines.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, well, you are a baby face now, and I'm a baby face too. So I know you were a heel 3 weeks ago, but hey, you know, let's be friends now. Let's forget about that 3-month program we were just in, and let's have this 6-man tag because we're not really important, you know? It's like other guys that are feuding, and they're just kind of part of the background. It's like, yeah, whatever. Happens all the time. And the character motivations don't really make sense. Except Vince. Vince makes a lot of sense.
Does he?
Yeah, he's crazy. His motivation is he's nuts, and he doesn't like anybody, and he's mean to people. And I think maybe he sees something in Austin Theory, and he's going to whip him into shape somehow. I don't know. The Vince and Austin Theory stuff was some of my favorite stuff of the show. Honestly, like I just like seeing Vince be crazy. It's fun to me. The rambling, mumbling Vince McMahon that he currently is. I don't think it's far off from who he really is, but it's nuts. Shout out to Silent by Deadly in the chat. Lorne, Doug Hepburn, Angelo Contagonis watching us on Twitch. You can watch us on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube. We're everywhere. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and do all the things. Do all the things. Keep growing the Ringside Report Network. Hit us up on Super Chat. Become a member. Be a member of the team.
It did feel like a little bit of like an insight into like how it is dealing with Vince McMahon nowadays in a business and production sense. He's got someone sitting with him. He rambles about expecting the unexpected. We gotta surprise them. And then the other person is just like Austin Theory, the entire night was just like, oh yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. I love this. Raw is fantastic.
Yeah, Vince makes no sense, and the people around him kiss his ass and act like he's making perfect sense, and then he slaps them. You know, he just kind of...
For looking away from him for a split second.
Like, he'll turn on you on a dime, and you're not really sure why. You know, he's just like a crazy man.
Like, some of the promos ended with Vince being like, don't look away from me, or I'm going to kill you.
He did threaten to kill him.
And that's it. And the announcer's just like, all right, Raw, action-packed, rolling on. Like, oh, Vince McMahon.
I want to get into those Vince promos, because they were pretty crazy. But I want to wrap up with the Seth stuff first, and then we'll get into Vince. So Seth beats Finn Balor here, and then there was a lot of Seth and Kevin Owens stuff that we should cover before we get into the Vince madness. So Seth Rollins is backstage with Kevin Owens. He tells Seth, Kevin Owens tells Seth that if he beats Biggie tonight, then he'll be inserted in the WWE title match at day 1 in a triple threat. And Seth doesn't believe Owens and says, "No, you're a liar. I don't believe you. Everything you say is a lie." So then Seth goes to Adam Pearce and he asks if Kevin Owens is lying. And Pearce says, "Yes, I never spoke to Kevin Owens. There's no such stipulation in the Kevin Owens-Biggie match later tonight." And then Seth says, "Haha, I knew he was lying." And he leaves. And then Sonya says, "What was that about?" And Adam Pearce tells her, the idea. And she's like, "Well, it's not a bad idea." So then they start considering. And obviously, by the end of the night, the match will be for a shot to be in the title match, which does make sense. Like, if Kevin Owens beats the WWE champion, shouldn't he get a WWE title match? I mean, that's just kind of wrestling logic. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville should have come to that conclusion already. Nevertheless, Kevin Owens backstage with Seth Rollins, and Seth tells him that he spoke to Adam Pearce and that he knows that Kevin Owens is lying. And then he says, "Liar, liar, pants on fire" a couple of times. Again, this is a grown man saying this to another grown man. The motivations of these characters. Like, there's no way the real Kobe Lopez would actually, go, "Liar, liar, pants on fire." I mean, maybe he would.
Maybe?
But I really hope not. I mean, it's very strange for a grown man to be doing. It's the behavior of, I would say a 4-year-old, but my son wouldn't behave like that. He's much more civilized than that. Seth Rollins is just a complete goofball here. And Kevin Owens says, yeah, okay, whatever. You think I'm lying, but I'm telling you, if I beat Biggie tonight, I'm going to get added to your title match at day 1, and it's going to be a triple threat. And Seth is like, "No, it's my match with Biggie. It's not yours." Seth behaves like just a dumb child. I mean, he's one of the dumb kids.
Mm-hmm. A petulant child.
Yes, he's petulant, that's for sure. Seth backstage with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville again. So after Seth gets his answer and tells Kevin Owens that he knows that Kevin Owens is lying, Seth goes back to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville and says, "Hey, by the way, Kevin Owens is still saying that he's in the match, even though you guys said that he wasn't, so you should probably do something about that." It's like, what was the point of this? What is this encounter here? And then Pearce and Sonya are like, "Well, actually, Seth, we thought about it, and if Kevin Owens beats Big E tonight, he's going to be added to the triple threat." So that was the point of this encounter, was to inform Seth. But the motivation of Seth to go back to Pearce and Sonya at this point, after he's got his answer, after he's told Kevin, and Kevin's like, "Yeah, well, whatever, I'm still going to do it." Why would Seth go back to Pearce and Sonya and say, "Oh, Kevin's saying that he's still going to get the title shot if he wins the match"? Of course, this is just to set up Pearce and Sonya telling him that it's true now, but
they took a long road to get there.
So dumb. And it makes no sense for Seth to go back into that office at that point. He should be done with them, but he goes back to complain further about Kevin Owens. And, of course, it backfires on Seth. And then he gets mad, and he says, Pearce, you lied to me." And Pearce says, No, Kevin Owens lied to you." And Seth says, "Kevin Owens might be the only one telling the truth." So maybe Kevin Owens and Seth are going to team up. Maybe they're in cahoots, but they're not, because they attacked each other here in the main event.
Just as a sidebar, Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are like the worst GMs ever on TV. GM is always just supposed to make what the match is clearer, what the cards are clearer, and every time they're on, you can never figure out exactly what's up. Just a little sidebar there. I was upset with them tonight.
Yeah, they're not great. They're not great, and they don't really make sense, and you can't tell if they're heels or baby faces ever.
Yeah, and when they say they made a match, it's like, well, did they?
I think they're both heels now, because Pearce is suspending Brock. He doesn't like Brock, although Brock's suspension was lifted, and Pearce didn't seem to know about it, which is weird. Maybe Sonya's lifting the thing, but Brock is a babyface, and Sonya's clearly a heel on SmackDown, feuding with Naomi and Sasha. It's just,
I say put back Johnny Ace.
I think just anything but Sonya and Adam Pearce at this point. I like that there's more Vince, because I think more Vince means less Sonya and Pearce. or at least you understand like where the power lies and maybe why it's so confused, because Vince seems seriously confused. So Kevin Owens beats Biggie in the main event by disqualification. I'd say it was the match of the night. Not a lot of great matches tonight, but I'd say this one was probably the best one. The matches weren't terrible tonight, just nothing really stands out as fantastic. Owens beats Big E by disqualification when Seth Rollins attacks Kevin Owens. Now, Kevin Owens attacked Seth at one point during the match. Seth is on commentary. Kevin Owens hits him. And Seth jumps on the apron like he's going to do something, but he says, no, Kevin, I'm not taking your bait. I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to fall for that trap. So at this point, he's established, like, if you win and if I attack you, that means you win and you get into the triple threat match. So I'm not going to do that because I'm not that stupid. But then later on, Kevin Owens attacks him again. I guess attacks him worse. Like it was a worse beating that he gave him. Kind of blindsides him and throws a bunch of punches after dropping him on the ground. Then Seth attacks Kevin Owens.
Expect the unexpected, pal.
It's just, if you knew what he was trying to do, like why not, after the first attack, why not leave ringside? Do you need to be there?
I thought he was going to try to help Big E. That's what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was going to try to interfere in the match on behalf of Big E, and then Big E, being a babyface, would be like, no, I don't want to do it like that. And that was what would cost Big E the match, because he'd be distracted, and Owens would take advantage. I thought that was going to be the finish, but instead, yeah, it was just this weird, they took time to establish that Seth wasn't going to take Owens' bait, and then it's okay. Owens didn't even say Seth had no balls.
No. He just attacked him again, and Seth was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Forget it. And now I'm going to attack you. And then, after the match, Seth Rollins curb stomps Big E. He winds up getting in the ring and trying to attack Kevin, but Kevin rolls out, and Seth attacks Big E instead and curb stomps him. And then the ring announcer announces Kevin Owens as the winner, and because he has won, he now gets to be in the WWE title match. It's a triple threat now, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins versus Big E for the WWE title at day one. And Seth acts surprised by this news.
What?
What do you mean? Oh, no, I can't believe this happened. Seth, you already, 15 minutes ago, when this match was going on, you said, no, Kevin Owens, I'm not going to attack you and get disqualified. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to trick me into getting you an easy pass into this WWE title match. I won't allow this. And then the announcer, after Seth does allow it, and the announcer announces the results, Seth is shocked. Why would he be shocked?
That's what the script called for
it
some
doesn't
reason.
make sense. Why would he be shocked? He knows that if he causes the disqualification, he is gone.
Yeah. And he's been cheering for Big E throughout the match, going let's go Big E. He clearly wants not to be in the match. He's never expressed at any point fine, I'll kick both your asses. He clearly wants it to be a one-on-one match. And then he just kamikazes himself.
Yeah. There was no point where Seth decided, okay, well, maybe if Kevin Owens is in this match, I have a better shot of winning the WWE title because I could pin him easier than I could pin Big E. There was never an instance where it made sense for Seth to cause a disqualification and get Kevin Owens into this. The whole night revolved around Seth Rollins not wanting Kevin Owens to be in this match. And even at the end, when Seth Rollins understood that Kevin Owens was trying to push him and make him attack back so that he'd win by disqualification, Seth still falls for the trap and still puts himself in the position of getting Kevin Owens now into this triple threat match. It was so dumb because so many segments, so much time was dedicated to Seth Rollins clearly not wanting Kevin Owens into this match. And then Kevin Owens gets the match with Big E, And if he wins, he gets put into the day one title match. And, of course, it happens because it's all very obvious.
It's weird. It's like if someone dropped a banana peel in front of somebody, and that guy spent 45 minutes going, I know there's a banana peel there,
but I'm not going to step on it.
But I know it's there. You're trying to get me. And then the minute he takes a step, he goes, whoa, what happened there? It's just like, you just spent 45 minutes talking about the banana peel. How are we supposed to acknowledge anything else?
I don't know.
It's just bad writing.
It's really bad. It's obvious. It's bad. And, like,
it's thrown
I
together.
don't know. I saw people online being like, oh, I thought that finish made sense. I was like, well, I mean, it did make sense because Seth, like, he can't control himself. Like, that's the story.
His character?
Seth, well, yeah. I mean, he's also nuts. That's part of his character. He's just like this crazy guy. He can't control himself. Even though he knew that Kevin Owens was trying to push his buttons, he couldn't stop himself from attacking Kevin Owens. But, I mean, why is he acting shocked then when the announcer's like, yeah, Kevin Owens is in the match now? It's like, yeah, Seth, you knew this. This was established that you knew this.
He's not his Messiah gimmick, is he still?
No, he's like this other. He's something else, like Seth something.
Yeah, it's weird. I thought like if he still was that like kind of like cult leader character that they're trying to craft for him, then it would kind of make sense. But
no, even then it doesn't make sense. None of this made any kind of sense.
I feel like his gimmick now is just I have crazy jackets.
Yeah, pretty much. And he laughs.
Yeah. And he does like a dance like,
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of a babyface kind of gimmick, I dance and I wear funny jackets.
It was a good match, but it just ended with this weak finish. The match was good, but the finish just kind of...
Yeah, it was limp.
And it's like, oh, you're going to do all that wrestling to finish with this disqualification of Seth Rollins jumping in?
Yeah, kind of like, negates what we just saw, makes it less good.
I really thought at that point, Kevin Owens attacks Seth Rollins, turns around, comes into the ring, gets hit with the big ending, 1, 2, 3, and then it's Big E versus Seth still at day one because, that would be unexpected. That would be a bit of a twist. It's like, oh, you have this match with the stipulation, but Kevin doesn't actually win, and the stipulation doesn't happen. But when you have a match with a stipulation that only goes one way, you kind of figure it's going to go that way. Like there was nothing on the line for Big E other than keep Kevin Owens out of the match. But he doesn't seem to care. He seems to want to beat Kevin and Seth. So, I mean, for him, he'd probably rather throw the match at that point. Well, I mean, why not take them both on because he doesn't like them, right?
He's a fighting champion.
Yeah, that's it. The motivation for Big E wasn't really there. When you have these matches with a one-way stipulation, what do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to win? It's obvious. So sometimes in a one-way stipulation, you got to go the other way. If you're going to do these matches with a one-way, you got to go the other way. You want it to be one way, but it's the other way. Okay?
Yeah, I know.
Stop saying that.
Security guard should listen.
Oh, damn right, you should listen. Got to put one of those vacants. Anyways.
Talking back.
For those of you who know what we're talking about, shout out to you. For those of you that don't, that's okay. Back on topic. So it just when you have one of those stipulations where it's like, okay, if Kevin Owens wins, he gets to be in a match. If Big E wins,
yeah, or like if Big E loses, he can't use the big ending or something. Like he has some kind of consequence.
Well, no, if Big E loses, Kevin Owens is in the match. So if Big E wins, he should get something. Big E should get something. Like if Big E wins, Kevin Owens is barred from ringside in the Seth Rollins Big E match. So Kevin can't interfere because there's been an interference storyline there, right? There was like Seth interfered. The whole thing with Kevin Owens, how it started, was Seth interfered in a Big E Kevin Owens match, right? And then Kevin Owens tried to take advantage, but it didn't work. And then Big E got mad at him. And then he was like, oh, please believe me, Big E. I didn't mean to do that. Remember that?
That was awful.
Right? So interference has been a big part of this feud. So why not have a stipulation for Big E where it's like, okay, if Kevin wins, he's in the match. If Big E wins, Kevin can't be anywhere near the match. Like, at least have that so you go into the match thinking, well, there's something on the line for both guys. So Big E could ostensibly win, and you'd believe that, okay, well, now Big E wins and it changes the match because Kevin Owens can't be there and interfere because he's been interfering a lot and a lot of interference. Him and Seth don't get along. Him and Big E don't get along. So you keep him out of the match, at least. And then still you have Kevin Owens win. Still same finish if you want. But I would have done it a little differently if you're going to do the DQ finish with Seth Rollins. I wouldn't have had Kevin Owens push him at first and actually make physical contact earlier in the match and then Seth say, oh, I know what you're doing. I would have scrapped all that. I would have had Kevin Owens get in Seth's face, yell at him, and say, what do you want to do? You're going to hit me? You're going to hit me? And then Seth, backing off, not doing it. Doesn't have to actually get hit and then jump on the apron and almost do it and say, no, I know what you're doing. All he's got to do is have Kevin Owens try to bait him. Kevin should just get in his face and say, come on, Seth, what are you going to do? You're going to hit me. And then Big E hits Kevin, and the match keeps going. And then eventually you get to the point where Kevin jumps Seth, attacks him, and then Seth comes back in. Because at that point, Kevin Owens has made physical contact with Seth, so you understand how that's crossed the line. But Kevin already made physical contact with Seth. Like, to me, I guess that's kind of Seth Rollins' gimmick now. You can jump him, you could push him down, and he won't do shit.
It's weird.
Remember the fan last week? And now Kevin Owens this week. That's kind of how it works. You could just push Seth down. He's not going to attack you. He might get mad, but he's not going to attack you. But eventually he will. Eventually, if you push him too far and you drop him and you punch him a bunch of times, he will jump in and cause a disqualification. It's just the finish could have been done a lot better. If you're going to do that, do it a lot better. And the one-way stipulation could have been made a two-way stipulation by adding the Kevin Owens barred from ringside thing.
Just to give a little unpredictability. Just a little bit like, it could be two ways.
Exactly.
Instead of everything being such like a linear one-way street all the time. Just be like, it could be this or it could be that.
When Kevin Owens is given the stipulation that if he wins, he gets into the triple threat match in this non-title match with Big E, what do you think is going to happen? It's too obvious. Give them you can't just do a stipulation that works for one person in a match. Because every time that happens, that one person winds up winning the match. By hook or by crook, they wind up winning the match to get that stipulation to go. Because the stipulation that you're setting up is only a way to set up whatever main event you have in your mind anyways. Right? It's just a way to facilitate the story. So you're not even trying to make it interesting. You're just like, it's the way we're trying to get to the point. Let's just get to the point. It's a triple threat at day one. Let's just get to it. How do we get to it? Oh, well, let's have Kevin and Big E, and if Kevin beats Big E, he's, How about instead of any stipulation, you just have Kevin wrestle Big E tonight because they're feuding in a non-title match. Kevin beats Big E, and then next week he goes to Adam and Sonya and says, hey, I just beat the WWE champion. Maybe I should get a title match. And then Seth Rollins comes in. He's like, no. I got next. I want to take the title off Big E. And they say, okay, well, you know what? Kevin, you did beat him last week. You're in the triple threat.
Easy enough.
It makes more sense that way.
Just simple writing.
It's simple, and they make it complicated and dumb.
It's like they sit down with an empty piece of paper and they go, we're in a corner here. Like they haven't even tried to do anything. They're like, man, we're stuck here. We got to figure out a way, And so they come up with the easiest way. To quote Ned Flanders' mother, they've tried nothing. They're all ideas.
Yeah, it's not good. Vince McMahon in his office with Austin Theory. This is the brains behind the operation, and you see he's rambling. And I don't know how far off this is from real Vince. Vince has Austin Theory in his office. Vince talks about how he hates when people ask him how he's doing. How you doing? No one cares. How am I doing? I've got irritable bowel syndrome, and how am I doing? Why do people ask you how you're doing, pal? And it's just like, it's not even, I can't even do the old Vince impression where it's like, booming, pal. Hurry. It's like this different Vince now. He's like, hurry, pal. What are you doing?
Barely catch what he's saying on the mic.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand this mumbly old Vince. Vince says he wants Austin Theory to watch the show with him in his office. And he says, we'll see if somebody expects the unexpected and what they will do about it. We'll see if somebody expects the unexpected and we'll see what they do about it. And you're like, what?
Why does he care what Austin Theory? Is this about the egg? Because Austin Theory stole the egg?
Well, he also mentioned that, and he says to Austin Theory, oh, yeah, and if you steal from me again, I will kill you. And he says it, and I think he meant it.
And that's like the segment ends.
Yep, that's how the segment ended. That one. We saw a lot more from Vince and Austin Theory. Vince and Austin Theory are in his office again, and AJ Styles was pretending to be blind, and Vince didn't like it. He asked Austin Theory, what did you think of that AJ Styles thing? And Austin Theory's like, oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. And Vince is like, oh, it was too obvious. I didn't like it. The Street Profits saw it coming. Everybody saw it coming. AJ Styles isn't really blinded by the fire extinguisher. And you're like, what?
It was his idea.
It's your story, right? So why are we doing this? If you think it was bad, Vince is now shitting on his own show on his own show.
I liked your comparison during while we were watching. You said him doing that, it's like Statler and Waldorf, the two Muppets in the balcony who heckle the show.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, you know.
He's like this grumpy old man who's heckling the show, except it's his show. But I guess like he does pay people to put it together. I mean, it is funny to just watch him react to his own show like, oh, God.
What was I thinking?
What am I paying these people for? These people are awful. Who are my writers? Good God. And then we have them again, and this is after a 10-woman tag team match that Vince liked. He liked the match, and he asks if Becky's team expected that. I don't really know what he meant, and he kept talking about having to expect the unexpected, and then he rambled on about surprises, saying a surprise isn't a surprise if you see it coming. But you have to see it coming, because that's what a real surprise is. And if you surprise yourself, then sometimes you're surprised. And the sir in the prize, they call me Sir Prize. I've been knighted by the prize authorities of Prize of London. Surprise me, Austin Theory. Surprise! And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? It was crazy. That part was probably the craziest part of the whole thing. The surprise ramble, that made no sense. Vince just kind of rambling on and on as his new gimmick does not feel like a gimmick. And then finally asking Austin Theory what he's learned over the course of the night in his office. And Theory says to expect the unexpected. And Vince says, mumbles something, I don't know. And then he goes to shake Austin Theory's hand, and then instead of shaking his hand, smacks the shit out of him right in the face.
Hard.
It was such a good smack. Austin Theory sold it because he was really hurt. It was pretty awesome. And then Vince tells Theory he has a lot to learn. So I guess this Vince-Austin Theory pairing is going to continue. I don't know. Vince slapped him pretty hard. I don't know why. I don't know what this is.
Is Austin Theory going to be like another backstage kind of authority figure? It's like, I don't know, because like, he kind of looks like a Brad Maddox. So like, is he like a Brad Maddox?
I don't see this as a positive for Austin Theory's career. When you're getting slapped around by like a 75-year-old man on TV and you don't do anything about it and you're just like, huh. And he's like not really a heel. You know, he's kind of a babyface in this scenario. You kind of feel bad for Austin Theory getting smacked around by Vince and
having to answer his brain teasers about surprises.
Yeah, that's it. Like he's got to kind of placate the crazy old man, and he's a little bit afraid of Vince, and Vince is hitting him and berating him and doing all these things. At this point, you've kind of turned Austin Theory babyface, but not a strong babyface. You know, just like this weak kind of afraid babyface.
Yeah, like he was like looking off to the side, and Vince was like, "Who are you looking at?
Yeah, don't look.
Look at me, damn it, when I'm talking to you." And like, It felt real. It
It
felt
was-
like Vince was like, forget the cameras, like, just, like, I don't like when people, like, look away, break eye contact from me when I'm talking to them. I would imagine that's a thing Vince McMahon is like.
Yeah.
Like, if you're talking to Vince, and if you look off to the side for a second, he'll be, like, pissed off at you.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all weird. Everything that happened tonight on Raw with Vince was very strange. This new Vince character is very strange. But I kind of like it because of how weird it is. I don't like it because it's good. I like it because I like seeing Vince at this stage. I like seeing this stage Vince. Like, it's like, oh, okay, this is what Vince is now. Wow. What happened?
Late stage Vince.
I've been watching Vince McMahon my whole life, so when I see him on TV, which is pretty rare these days, although it's getting more frequent, right? 2 weeks in a row on Raw now, but it's just fascinating to see him. And everything he says, it carries more weight than anything anybody else says on the show because he's Vince McMahon. No one else on this show means anywhere close to the wrestling business that Vince does. Like, nowhere close. When I was watching Vince back in the early 90s, like, he was standing next to Macho Man and was like, yeah, well, that's Macho Man right next to him. Now Vince is in a room with Austin Theory and Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Nobody on this show is anywhere near the star that Vince is. Not Randy Orton, not Seth Rollins, not Edge, not anybody. Vince is the biggest star on this show.
That's why he's on, I think. They're like,
I don't mind. Should be on. It's weird.
It is weird. It's
experimental. It's enjoyable.
It's the unexpected.
I like it.
It's a surprise.
It's very confusing. His words don't really make sense, but I like watching him.
Yeah,
I like Vince McMahon. I like seeing him do these strange promos, and that if he's doing it, he must think it's a good idea, and the fact that he thinks this is a good idea is interesting to me. It's like, oh, okay. What the fuck, Vince? What's happening?
He's so
mumbly. He's so, like, the fact that he's so incoherent is strange. Like, that's the weird part to me, is that Vince used to be very, like, he would enunciate. He was very, over the top. Hey, pal. Like, he was very boisterous, and now he's, like, quieter and mumbly.
The last 2 to 3 years.
He's like
he's gone through a change. Like Undertaker, 25 long, arduous years.
Yeah, it's strange.
Or that one about Triple H, or like that weird rambling thing about like Triple H being 25 years, and like it was weird and rambly.
He
and,
did
he was
say
talking
some
about
weird
himself.
stuff. Yeah.
Just Vince. It's just, but like it's still like interesting. Like like Vince, it's like an album by an aging rocker or a movie by like an old director. Like they might not be where they used to be, but it's worth looking at because there's still a bit of that artist there.
I just find it fascinating that this is the guy in charge of this company, and when he appears on TV, this is how he chooses to appear.
Yeah. Like, was that scripted like that? Or does he improv?
Whatever it is, he's going to get final say on whatever he's saying. He's going to throw in some things that are just Vince, He's going to throw in some things that aren't written for him. It's his own words, I think, for the most part. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. It's like watching a Disney cartoon, and then halfway through they're like, and now let's find out what Walt Disney thinks about this.
It's just you don't expect him to be like this, and the fact that he's running the show and appearing like this on TV, it's just strange, and it kind of shows you like, oh, okay, I see why the rest of the show is like this.
Mm-hmm.
If this is the guy in charge, I see why the rest of the show is a little wonky, because he seems like not all there.
And he's surrounded by glad-handing
douchebag
yes
men.
men like John Laurinaitis, who tell him everything he wants to hear.
Yeah, but that's really what that was.
Yeah.
It was Vince rambling incoherently and a douchebag yes man in Austin Theory saying, yeah, expect the unexpected. And then when Austin Theory, just when he thinks he's told Vince exactly what he wants to hear, then he gets slapped and he has to sit around to continue to get berated even more by Vince McMahon, which I have heard is basically how Vince treats you. I don't think he actually hits you if you're his employee, unless it's on TV, and then he will hit you or make you kiss his ass or whatever. I hope the Kiss My Ass Club is next week for Austin Theory.
Oh my
that would
God.
be fun. That would be fun. Bring it back. Bring it back.
What? Oh, what that must look like.
Yeah. Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan in the ring for a contract signing with Sonya Deville. They will have a WWE Raw Women's title match next week on Raw. So not at day one. This one's just being thrown out there next week. Becky admits Liv has a good right hand, but she's not going to be able to take the title from her. Liv punched Becky last week. Liv says she channeled her anger into violence instead of crying like Becky did after her match with Charlotte. And then they played the clip of Becky being very emotional and talking about how her friendship with Charlotte has dissolved and how she wanted to completely break Charlotte in the match, and she was crying, and it was real emotion in a match where Becky was booked as the babyface, and Liv Morgan is mocking her for crying and showing that real emotion, and Liv Morgan is supposed to be the babyface in this promo.
Yeah, she called it like a crybaby.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, you're a crybaby, Becky." And it's like, Liv Morgan, you cry all the time on TV. You were crying last week during that promo.
Legitimately.
You were crying during the promo. Becky was berating you, and you were crying. Becky wasn't being berated by anybody when she was crying after that emotional Survivor Series match. She was crying about the emotion that she had because she had this very good friend and her friendship had completely broken up and they hate each other now, and they had this match and there was real emotion and it was a hell of a promo, and Becky came off like a babyface in the promo, and then Liv Morgan makes fun of her for it?
It's odd. It's a very odd,
the Liv Morgan promo tonight was super weird.
It sounded like she was going for a real shoot kind of promo.
Failed.
But all of her shots just were underwhelming.
Made her seem like a dick. All of Liv Morgan's
not well
shots
thought out.
All of Liv Morgan's shots made her seem like a dick. She makes fun of Becky for crying after her match with Charlotte during that promo, which she showed, which was a great promo and just real emotion that makes you feel for Becky more than anything. And then Liv says that your friend Charlotte is gone because of you, Becky, and my friends are gone because of your big, fat, greedy contract.
What was that about?
This is clearly a line written by WWE for Liv Morgan that she somehow decides to say. It makes her look terrible. She's saying that her friends, Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan, the two other Riott Squad members that are no longer around because people like Becky Lynch, who are bona fide superstars, once-in-a-generation talents, command too much money from the multi-billion-dollar company that is the WWE. Hey, Liv, Becky's not the bad guy. Vince is, you stupid fuck. Holy shit, did Liv Morgan come off like an idiot saying that shit. I know it's written for her, and she probably has no choice, but I don't know if she does have a choice, and that was her line. That was fucking stupid to say, Liv. You should hope that you become a talented enough performer to get the money that Becky Lynch rightfully deserves. She's probably underpaid for what she brings into the company, for the amount of entertainment that she brings in, coming back early to save their fucking asses at SummerSlam when Sasha Banks couldn't make the match. You're going to say Becky's overpaid and that's why your friends aren't there? Your friends aren't there because the WWE decided they didn't want them anymore. Your friends aren't there because the WWE decided they didn't want to pay them anymore. Not because they pay Becky too much. Fucking Liv. What a dumbass fucking comment. Hey, Liv, how about this? Why don't you give up all your money and wrestle for free and just give your money to Sarah Logan if you feel so bad for your friends? Why don't you do that? Why don't you find some fucking ex-WWE wrestlers, some of the women that paved the way for you and your snotty fucking attitude that are broke? Why don't you give all your money to Sunny? All right, Liv Morgan? Give all your...
There are ways to give money to Sunny.
Yeah, you could give her, I think she has an OnlyFans and so on. Give your money to somebody that paved the way for you. If you think it's so fucking horrible that Becky Lynch is making multi-millions in the WWE, which she deserves, and you don't. Liv Morgan will never deserve that shit because Liv Morgan, as we saw tonight, fucking sucks. God damn, is she awful. And that promo was so bad for Liv Morgan. It does nothing to help Liv Morgan as a babyface, which they're trying to make her. They're trying to make her a babyface against heel Becky, and every time they try to make Becky into a bigger heel, they turn her into a bigger babyface. They're so fucking stupid.
And like Sarah Logan left because she was starting a family, and like I think her contract just ran out, and Ruby Riott wanted out of the WWE because
she's better off now.
Yeah, and it's not like she's not working. She's doing fine. It was weird.
It was really weird.
And if WWE wrote
what a
that,
weird line.
And if WWE's position is that Becky's contract that they gave her is greedy,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, we're paying Becky too much.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to fire these other wrestlers if Becky didn't want so much money. If that's WWE's position, what the fuck? Or if that's Liv Morgan's position, what the fuck? Either way, it's fucked. Yeah. Either way, the fact that came out on TV is fucked. You tell me Becky Lynch doesn't deserve a big fat contract from the WWE. And you're telling me that Becky Lynch making big money from the WWE is the reason why they have to fire all these wrestlers? That's what Liv Morgan went out and said on TV tonight. How does that make her a babyface? That either makes her ignorant or it makes her a puppet for the WWE spewing their fucking vile lies on TV. And really taking a shot at Becky like, oh, Becky, we're paying you too much. Yeah? Fucking release her.
Yeah.
See if somebody won't pick her up.
Yeah.
You think you're paying Becky too much? Release her. I dare you. It's ridiculous. Tell you what, you could release Liv Morgan. I don't think people would mind. No one would give a shit.
No.
I wouldn't notice. Becky Lynch, you would notice if she was missing. She was gone. People were chanting her name when she wasn't around. Remember that? Remember when she was off and Charlotte was cutting promos and people were chanting for Becky and Charlotte had to say some things about Becky in her promos while Becky was gone because she just had a kid?
And she'd been gone for months.
You ever hear anybody chanting Liv Morgan's name even when she is in the ring? I don't think I've heard a fucking Liv Morgan chant ever in my life. Ever. She's telling Becky Lynch she's getting paid too much. Liv Morgan's probably getting paid too much. The fact that anybody's paying her to wrestle on TV is a fucking joke. She's overpaid. It's unbelievable. That promo was shocking. That line was shocking. Shocking. And then Becky says, hey, by the way, I have a 10-woman tag match. Team Becky versus Team Liv. You want to do it? And Liv's like, yeah, all right. So then they had the match later on. It was pretty long. It was like a long match. Several commercial breaks. I think 2 commercial breaks during this match. It wasn't bad. Parts of it weren't bad. Other parts of it were very bad. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Nikki Ash, Bianca Belair, and Dana Brooke get the win over Team Becky, which was Becky, Carmella, Zelina, Doudrop, and Tamina. Liv hit her terrible finish on Tamina. The finishing sequence between Liv and Tamina was just awful. Just awful. There were some good moments in the match. Dana Brooke took a vicious fall onto like a bunch of people, but the way Carmella pushed Dana Brooke off the top rope to the outside, there was just a lot of velocity. Like Dana,
she did a show.
She shoved her hard, and Dana went flying off that top rope hard onto like a pile of ladies, but still, I wouldn't mind to be shoved hard onto a pile of ladies. You know what I mean? Oh, all right.
Depends how hard, though.
I mean, not too hard.
My ribs are broken.
And what's a pile? I mean, are they going to suffocate me when I land in the pile?
And will I hurt the ladies if I land on them?
Oh, I don't want to hurt the ladies.
I don't want to hurt the ladies.
Rhea Ripley's strong. I think if I'm being tossed onto Rhea and Bianca and Doudrop, they could catch me and they'd be all right.
Those big arms, you just feel so safe.
Yeah, Rhea's got some big arms, pal. What the fuck? Becky attacked Liv after the match. So the match ended, and then there was like a post-match brawl thing. Becky attacked Liv, and Doudrop and Bianca brawled, because you have to make sure that you know the people are paired off and they're still feuding. Rhea and Carmella seem to attack each other, so I guess Rhea and Nikki are maybe still going after Zelina and Carmella for the belts, but maybe not. Maybe just for tonight. And then Becky eventually went for her finisher on Liv, but Liv countered and hit her finisher, which is this terrible...
it's like a face buster,
like
thing.
Off the rope. It's really weird. I don't like her
I think
finisher.
R-Truth has the same finisher, but it's not off the ropes. It's the same kind of thing, like the lie detector. I think, like like he jumps and like grabs here.
Yeah,
brings down.
I don't know. I don't like Liv Morgan's finisher. And then you notice Liv hits her finisher on Becky, and then all the brawls that were going on outside of the ring mysteriously end, and all the baby faces just slide into the ring to pose while Liv's music plays.
That's what the script called for.
Well, that's it. Like, there was just chaos, but that's what the WWE does. It's so bad, and it just seems so phony where there's just chaos. Like, everybody's fighting. And then Liv Morgan hits her finisher, and her music plays, and then all of a sudden, all the fights that were happening are over, and all the baby faces jump into the ring, and they do their pose.
Yeah, it's like like they heard like a special call, and they all go like.
Yeah, it's like, oh, music. Okay, well that means we have to go back in the ring. So whoever I'm fighting, will you just lie down for a bit or crawl away or whatever? We'll just stop.
See you next week.
I wonder if there were two people brawling on the outside of the ring that when the music played, they just kind of looked at each other and like, all right, see you later. They weren't on camera, like Nikki and I didn't see Nikki and Zelina. I bet you they were brawling, and then when it was done, they were just like, oh, okay. Yeah. See you later. Yeah. Just, it's just too phony. When there's chaos, everybody's fighting, and then music plays, and it's like, oh, musical chairs, let's get back in the ring. Dumb. Miz came back tonight during the Edge promo. RK Bro beat the Dirty Dogs to retain the tag team titles. A tag team title match happened on Raw tonight. RK Bro beating the Dirty Dogs. The match was not great, and, come on. You think the Dirty Dogs are going to... I said to you tonight, Dolph Ziggler hit his zigzag on Randy Orton, and of course, Randy kicked out. And I said, when's the last time Dolph Ziggler hit his finisher on somebody and won on TV? And I can't remember for the life of me. Dolph Ziggler never wins. And then, of course, he took Randy's RKO, which, he takes finishers and loses, but I can't remember the last time Dolph Ziggler actually hit his finish and beat somebody on TV. It was just obvious they were going to lose to RK Bro. The fact that the tag titles were on the line was just kind of no consequence to this match. It's
like a house show match.
Yeah. I don't know why this even happened. The Edge promo was pretty good, though. Edge cuts an in-ring promo, talks about being on Raw now and how he's got a new set of opponents. He's got guys like AJ Styles and Kevin Owens and Finn Balor and Damian Priest and Big E to wrestle. Some pretty cool matchups for Edge. But, of course, that's not the matchup we're going to get, because The Miz came back with Maurice. His wife, Maurice, was there, too. Miz has been on Dancing with the Stars, of course, and he's back now. Miz talks about how Edge keeps leaving and coming back, and how he gets all these great comebacks, and it's all about the comeback for Edge, but when Miz comes back, he doesn't get any respect. He's been gone representing the WWE and Dancing with the Stars, and when he's injured, he's ringside in a wheelchair. Didn't mention who he's ringside in a wheelchair with, because that guy got fired, but nevertheless, Miz is mad that he's not getting more respect, and then Edge says, yeah, well, Miz, you just showed up to interrupt me because you know that interrupting me puts you into the main event, because otherwise you're not in the main event, but coming to see Edge, that's what happens. And Edge then starts putting Miz over for some reason, talks about how Miz beat John Cena at WrestleMania while Edge was like the opening match. And Edge says that people on other shows mention Miz's name just to get a cheap reaction, and he lives rent-free in people's heads, which I thought was a pretty clever line there by Edge. Edge saying other people on other shows mentioned Miz's name to get a cheap reaction. Talking about CM Punk. CM Punk, of course, mentioned MJF last week on Dynamite during their promo. Punk says that MJF is just a less famous Miz. And Edge referencing that tonight in the promo, which I thought was pretty good.
Interesting.
Pretty good stuff there from Edge. You know, I didn't think that they were going to mention it. But, you know, I wonder what that crowd was really saying to them, because the WWE drowns out the crowd so much. You cannot hear what they're actually chanting, how they're actually reacting. There's so much fake crowd noise on these broadcasts. It is hard to tell. But they were in Long Island, New York tonight, the home of MJF. And I wonder if there were some MJF chants or people saying MJF or AEW or anything, because I would imagine MJF is pretty over in Long Island, and Edge even kind of referencing him in a way here tonight, referencing the AEW promo with CM Punk and MJF, which was a hell of a promo and a much better promo than the Miz and Edge promo tonight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
obviously.
That CM Punk MJF promo was so fucking good. So good. This promo tonight was decent, though.
Some moments.
Like, Miz was not bad in the promo. Maurice kind of backing up the Miz and saying, hey, he's the best dancer on Dancing with the Stars. Like, Maurice was good. They both looked great. You know, Miz with his fancy jacket and Maurice had a whole outfit going on. They both looked cool. Edge cut a good promo. Edge eventually wanted to fight Miz. Said, hey, let's dance. And Miz is like, you want to dance? And I thought Miz was going to break out in a dance, but he doesn't. He just leaves. So Miz versus Edge looks like a thing that'll happen probably at day one, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and maybe even at the Royal Rumble. Or they'll both be in the Rumble.
I hope not at the Rumble, too. Let's just do day one, have Edge win, and then move on to something else. Like,
he'll be in the Rumble match, probably.
I would like Edge to wrestle Big E at the Rumble for the title. Like, if you're going to take the title off Big E, I would rather it be Edge than Seth.
It could be Edge and Seth at the Rumble.
But I also wouldn't mind keeping the title on Big E and having Big E beat Seth and Owens and also beating Edge.
It would be good for Big E.
I would like Edge versus Big E for the title at the Rumble. I think that would be a fun WWE title match. I think it'd be a good match for Edge and a good match for Big E. And I think you go into it thinking Edge could win.
Mm-hmm. It's Mania season.
You know? Yeah. And if he does, I don't think I'm that mad at it, because you could do things with Edge as WWE champion going into Mania. And, you know, if Big E can have a run where he beats Drew and Bobby Lashley and Seth and Kevin Owens, it's not a bad run if it ends with a loss to Edge. Yeah. But if he just beats Drew and Bobby,
should beat Edge.
If he just beats Drew and Bobby and then loses to Seth at day one, it's kind of a shitty run. But if he beats Seth and Kevin at day one, I could see him dropping it to Edge at the Rumble or beating Edge.
I feel like he should beat Edge.
Or beating Edge.
Like, if he beat Bobby.
But then what? But then if he beats Edge and he's champion, then he's probably if he's champion post Rumble, he's probably champion at Mania. Yeah. And then what's his title match at Mania? Winner of Rumble?
Probably.
Because I've heard it's gonna be Brock, Drew, Roman triple threat possibly at Mania. So maybe for the WWE title, it's Big E versus
Kofi.
If Kofi wins the Rumble. But if Kofi wins the Rumble, it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't make any sense for Kofi
Woods?
to choose Big E.
Yeah.
If Woods or Kofi win the Rumble, they have to choose Roman.
That's true.
They can't choose Big E. It makes no sense. Why would they do that? They're friends.
So, or someone we haven't really given thought to. You know, like sometimes there's
Austin Theory.
Yeah, exactly. Like, remember when Jack Swagger was suddenly in the championship match at WrestleMania against Alberto Del Rio? It's just like, what's he doing there?
If Austin Theory all of a sudden has Vince McMahon as his mentor and Vince McMahon is in his corner at WrestleMania against Big E, Austin Theory all of a sudden is more legitimate.
Or The Miz, when he was in his championship position at Mania, it was just like, oh.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah, Austin Theory.
Shout out to Harold Schneider dropping a super chat. Thank you, Harold, for supporting the Ringside Report Network. Appreciate you. You are the super chat leader right now. Appreciate you, Harold. That Edge promo was good. Like, Raw tonight was not bad because the promos were interesting. Like, the Liv and Becky promo was interesting, you know? The Vince McMahon stuff was crazy. The Edge Miz promo was pretty damn good. It's just the rest of the show was kind of weird. AJ Styles and Omos interviewed backstage. AJ's wearing sunglasses. He said that he's blinded because the Street Profits shot fire extinguisher stuff at him last week. And then AJ Styles and Omos are ringside for a Street Profits Alpha Academy match. Gable and Otis. Montez winds up winning for the Street Profits, hitting a top rope splash on Gable for the pin. AJ Styles tried to interfere during the match, during the finish, really, when Montez is on the top rope. AJ gets on the apron, just gets kicked off the apron by Montez, and Omos did nothing, and AJ Styles was mad at Omos for not helping him afterwards, so maybe we're starting to tease the AJ Styles-Omos breakup, which, yeah.
I'm happy with.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, because AJ, it's not doing him any favors being with Omos.
If Edge doesn't wrestle Big E at the Rumble, I wouldn't mind seeing Edge versus AJ Styles. I want to see Edge versus AJ Styles.
AJ could win the Rumble.
Oh, AJ should win the Rumble.
And AJ Big E at Mania.
They need to put AJ Styles right back into the main event.
That could very well happen.
He's AJ Styles. Give AJ Styles the Royal Rumble. If you're not going to give it to... I thought Xavier Woods might do it, but now that he's King of the Ring, I don't know. I think it'd be a lot. King of the Ring and Royal Rumble? That's a lot of royalty shit. I don't know. Damian Priest beat Apollo Crews. I think this is the second best match on the card. I thought this was pretty solid tonight. He hits his Crossroads thing to retain the U.S. title. Good match. Damian Priest is one of my favorite guys to watch consistently on Raw. He's really good. He's a good U.S. champion. And, you know, I thought this match needed more time. It's a little short.
Yeah.
I think you could have shortened the 10 women tag team match there. The Team Liv versus Team Becky, and given more time to this Apollo Crews Damian Priest match. Because they didn't really have time to get going. It was good, but I feel like you give this 5-10 more minutes, it's easily match of the night. Because they did a lot of good stuff here, but just not given a lot of time.
Or scrap the Mysterios versus Hurt Business. That was a house show match if I ever saw one.
I don't know why that happened. Damian Priest, Apollo Crews. I thought this was the feud for the U.S. title, but they just have the match on Raw, and then that's it. He wins clean, too. Is that it with Apollo? There was no post-match, you know, Commander Aziz trying to attack. Aziz got banned from ringside during the match, right? He got ejected. I don't know. But Damian Priest is a hell of a U.S. champion. He's a lot of fun. I like Apollo Crews, too. It just his gimmick is weird.
And Aziz and Omos, they're like kind of the same thing.
Yeah, just big backup.
The big backup, you know, who like probably will one day like, you know, be pushed harder than like the guy they're protecting.
That's it.
You know, the Diesel, the Batista kind of route. But there's like two of them, so it's the identical storylines almost.
I don't think they're anywhere near the talents that Diesel or Batista are, though.
No,
I think that's,
God, no.
I think that's the problem. I think that they're both probably terrible. From what I've seen from both of them, they're pretty awful in the ring. Not good. And promo-wise, I mean, they have nothing. They have nothing to offer.
And Diesel wasn't that good.
Kevin Nash could cut some promos, though.
Yeah, but like when he was Diesel?
Yeah, Diesel was not good. Kevin Nash was good.
Yeah.
I did not like Diesel. Ray and Dominic beat Cedric and Shelton for some reason. A frog splash by Dominic on Cedric. The match didn't need to happen. Something else that didn't need to happen. The Bobby Lashley wrestling career retrospective, like talking about how he wrestled as a kid and how he went to the army and he wrestled there and he's been wrestling and he wrestles and he's an athlete, and it almost seemed like they were trying to turn Bobby babyface with this video package. I have no idea why they did this.
I feel like they've already aired this promo.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen
this.
this.
Survivor Series.
Yeah, I think I've seen it already. I don't know why they're doing this with Bobby Lashley. I don't know if this is a repackage of Bobby Lashley, but they aired a Bobby Lashley video package like, hey, in case you forgot, this is Bobby Lashley. We have him. He'll probably be on the show next week.
He was in the army.
Yeah.
You know,
it was weird.
That's not really a heel thing to do.
Yeah, it felt like a babyface thing. Like whenever you bring up a guy's past serving the country, it's hard to bring him back as a heel. I don't really know what the point of that was unless it was to turn him babyface. Maybe without MVP? I don't know.
All right, then.
Maybe it's a Bobby Lashley repackage, but it's
Like
it was a strange move to just air that Bobby Lashley video package out of nowhere before the main event. It was weird.
You should travel around in a bus with Lex Luger, you know? Call it the Flex Express.
That would be fun. So next week on Raw, it'll be Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. Liv Morgan hitting her finisher on Becky tonight. You can guarantee that Liv is not winning the Raw Women's title next week on Raw. I mean, she better not because she sucks.
Oh,
I mean,
come on.
I mean, I'm sorry. You know, it's just I see Liv Morgan, and I see what she brings to the table, and I hear her promos, and I see her gimmick, and I see her matches, especially her matches. You know, the gimmick and the promos are passable, but the matches are just not. Her wrestling is just, it's rough. It is hard to watch. It's awkward. It's stumbly. She seems lost a lot of the time. She doesn't, it's just, it's clunky. It's really clunky with her, and she's not the one to beat Becky. Like, come on. It's Bianca or Rhea or somebody like that. It's not Liv Morgan. Get the fuck out of here. And Seth Rollins versus Biggie versus Kevin Owens is official for WWE Day 1 on January 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. And we will be here right after WWE Day 1 to do the post-show and the review for that on January 1st. I'll be here at least. I don't know if you'll be here. We'll see. You'll probably be recuperating from New Year's Eve.
I'm a party animal.
You are an animal. You're some kind of animal. I think there's going to be no SmackDown for a couple of weeks at the end of December here. Because Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve both land on Friday nights, and I think Fox is going to air something else.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to do a pre-tape? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think the 2 weeks, I mean, I don't know. I have to check, and we'll have more info when we get closer to the dates. But I think that the 2 weeks leading into Day 1 will have no SmackDowns.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. They'll probably wind up putting SmackDown people on Raw to kind of, you know.
Super shows. Holiday super shows.
Yeah. But I was checking the schedule, and I did not see a Raw or a SmackDown booked for the 24th or the 31st. So
that's interesting, because usually they would make people work
on New Year's Eve. Maybe.
I feel like they've had New Year's Eve Raws. Didn't they have a Christmas Day Raw?
Yes.
Like last year or the
year
before?
Have. Yeah.
Which was odd.
I don't know. But we will definitely find out as December approaches. I will be back here. When I'm back here, it will be December. Because I will be back here Wednesday night on the Ringside Report Network after AEW Dynamite in Atlanta. AEW Dynamite has a very good show set up on Wednesday night, so I'm looking forward to seeing that and recapping that with you here on the Ringside Report Network with Johnny North. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Oh, Johnny North.
Johnny North. Ooh. Get notified. Click the bell so you get notifications every time we are on. And that's it. Go to ringsidereport.net/shop. ringsidereport.net/shop. Support the Ringside Report Network sponsors. And get yourself some merch as well at merch.ringsidereport.net. Merch.ringsidereport.net. Don't forget to join. Become a member of the team. Join.ringsidereport.net and donate.ringsidereport.net. Harold Schneider, you are the Super Chat leader of the night. Thank you, Harold. Surprised Harold got the win there. A little surprised. But I appreciate you, Harold. Thank you, my friend. And I will be back once again on Wednesday night after Dynamite. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Shout out to Doug. Shout out to Angelo. Shout out to Harold. We'll see you Wednesday night after Dynamite.